Hello, this is Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech doing an event deck review of the new Journey into Nyx event deck that comes out in 2 weeks. This event deck makes me happy and sad at the same time. Let's jump in here and look at why I kind of like the deck first. It's a very solid build. It's got a lot of burn, some good creatures, a nice balance for a red-blue strategy that is very playable. It has some good cards in the sideboard also. Izzet Staticaster and Flames of the Firebrand are very solid sideboard cards. Elixir of Immortality is also good depending on the deck you're playing with. The playability of the cards in this deck is very high. Chandra's Phoenix is amazing. Searing Blood is one of my favorite cards right now. Turn and Burn is one of the most undervalued cards in the current environment. It is extremely good for dealing with troublesome creatures. Anger of the Gods is a great modern and a great standard card. Flames of the Firebrand also has a lot of utility, especially against smaller creature decks. There are some problems with this deck, though. Anger of the Gods, Young Pyromancer, not exactly the best combination I've ever seen. In fact, Young Pyro doesn't make a lot of sense in this deck because there's 15 creatures. The most creatures that I've seen Young Pyromancer work with, and this was in Legacy, was 12. I really like to have 4 or 8 creatures in a deck with Young Pyros. There's 3 Young Pyros in this deck. Ætherling, Young Pyro do not belong in the same deck. This deck is packed full of some very, very playable cards. Ætherling is great in several control decks, although really weird in this deck because this is not really a control deck. This deck has some of the best burn in the environment between Searing Blood and Magma Jet. Anger of the Gods is a great control card out there. Young Pyro is a really good aggro card. The problem with this deck, though, is here's the money cards. Yep, you got it. None. Zero. Zip. Nothing in the deck is worth more than $2. All of the cards are cards you can easily trade for a quarter to 50 cents, maybe even $1 at most each. Missing from this is the rare lands. Most of the other event decks have really good rare lands, at least one rare land that makes it worth buying. There's no Mutavault, there's no Steam Vents, there's no Mana Confluence. All 3 amazing rare lands that are 4-ofs in lots of decks, completely gone. Now this event deck does have a lot of playability, but I would focus it a bit more if I was going to play it at a Friday Night Magic. Cut out some of the bad creatures they put in or some of the non-bows and increase the amount of burn cards and Chandra's Phoenixes. I would even also look at Skullcrack in the sideboard or in the main deck, maybe a split of 2 and 2. If somebody starts to gain life on you, you're going to have some serious problems. So Skullcrack is the best answer to that in an aggro burn deck. If you want to go serious tier 1, I would also go for the lands, although that's going to cost you 20 times the cost of the entire deck right now. So my overall grade on this event deck is that it's a solid C+. It's an A- for the strategy and what they put together, and it's a D- for the value. If you want something to play at a Friday Night Magic, pick this up as a starter way to build burn, but don't pay over $15 for it. The price has already started to drop significantly online, and it hasn't even come out yet. This is going to be a very inexpensive, easy to get a hold of deck, but it has no long-term value to it. So pick it up at around $15 if you want to play on a Friday Night Magic. Thanks. This has been Brian Rowe with Mythic MTG Tech. I'm going to say thank you to all the sponsors that are out there on Patreon. I greatly appreciate it. We've got a very packed week this week. I've got several videos coming out, so take a look at the channel and watch for some updates as the week goes on.